June 7th, 2023 School Committee. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to go into executive session to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law or federal grant and aid requirements. The committee, and I move that we return to open session afterward.
Second.
Do we have to do roll call, I guess?
Yes.
Anthony Mullen here.
Amanda Phillips here.
Yes.
Joanna here.
Sure,
Okay, great.
French here.
All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
And then, I'm sorry, let's move into executive session.
All right.
Okay.
school committee meeting. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first I'd like to recognize Westwood Media, which is live streaming the meeting, is also recording the viewing on it for other platforms. Is there anyone else who'd like to record today? Okay, great. Why don't we now move next to the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Good evening. So we're starting tonight with something really fun and celebratory. We have invited some members of the track and field team to come in to be recognized. They have had some really big accomplishments this season. And so what I thought I would do is just tell you a little bit about these folks, and then we'll invite them up for some certificates, which in no way rival those medals that I see over there, by the way. We'll honor them in that way. So first, I want to talk about a group of boys, the boys distance group. They set the Westwood High School record for the 4x1600 relay in a time of 1904.05, a very impressive performance. The team consists of junior Graydon Gavin, senior Josh Jersky, junior Ben Betho, and sophomore Tony Mari. And so we're very impressed, and I want to say thank you also to Coach Lyons, who we see is here tonight also. And I thought I would read something that Coach Lyons had to say that I thought was important. He said, "The boys' distance group is 100% committed to our positive culture that through hard work and patience, success will eventually happen." And it apparently has for these guys, who I think are also just quite fast. So, congratulations to them. And then I have several things to talk about here with our girls runners. So the girls track and field team is having a year, I'm told, like no other. So over the past 2 seasons, the team has broken 7 school records. 12 athletes have qualified for nationals, and they were the TVL Showcase champions. We're joined tonight, we have Coach Madera here and also Coach Tian. I particularly want to note that Coach Madera was awarded Coach of the Year this season, which is just like another special thing for this year. And so here are a few highlights of the team's accomplishments. So we're going to start with the winter season. In the winter season, we had the 4x200 meter relay of Katie Tran, Ruby Codrington, Olivia O'Neill, and Nyla Backus. And they broke the school record, a time of 1:49.76. Congratulations to them. In the winter, the 4x400 meter relay, Ruby Codrington, Olivia O'Neill, Maeve Gavin, and Taya Pagnati. They broke the record, 4 minutes, 10 seconds, 4 minutes. Yes, 4 minutes, 10 seconds, 0.07. That one, boy, they just got it, right?
Yeah, barely.
But hey, it counts. That's great. In spring, 400 meter hurdles, we have Caroline Kelleher, who was the TVL champion and now holds the school record in 66.64. Triple jump, Victoria McGowan, school record, 35 feet, 7.5 inches. That's a big one. Previously 35 feet, 0.25 inches. So really obliterated that one. Long jump, Katie Tran, 16 feet, 6.5 inches. The 4x100 meter relay team, Katie Tran, Victoria McGowan, Harper Morrison, and Ruby Condrington, 50.55 seconds. And the 4x400 meter relay team of Caroline Kelleher, Maeve Gavin, Olivia O'Neill, and Taya Pagnati, and 4 minutes, 3 seconds, 0.13. So they were also TVL champions and the Division III state meet champions. So very, very impressive. I was a 4x800 a 100-meter runner. I am not going to talk about my time. I'm in the company of these folks. But so we have some certificates. Do you want to hand
Yeah,
them out?
sure.
Or-
Raising Gavin. Josh. Superintendent. Get a picture, come on. Yeah, coaches come. You were outside? You were outside.
Are you a coach?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. There we go. I'm gonna take a million. Keep going.
Just smile.
Yeah. Switching. Love it. Looks great. Thank you.
Yeah, I got mine.
Grab one before we.
Should we get me one?
Water?
I'm okay, thank you though. You never have too much, ma'am.
All right, continuing on? Yeah?
Continue on.
Great.
Okay, great. All right, so continuing on, just a few words about the Pine Hill consolidation. So throughout the year, the staff at Deerfield and Hanlon, as you know, have had several opportunities to meet together during faculty meetings and professional development time to start thinking through the consolidation process. We also have formed a consolidation task force that's being led by Principal Josh Baumer with representatives from both schools. They've begun meeting, and they're going to meet throughout the summer and all of next school year to kind of guide this process. We have thought through some of the logistics of the move in February, which obviously will be involve professional movers who do this, who move schools. We're not packing up our trunks. Assuming that the project remains on its current timeline, the plan is to move over February vacation. And so we're we do anticipate that in addition to some other provisions, we are going to need to have an early release for Hanlon and Deerfield students only on the Friday before February vacation. And then the Monday following the February vacation will be a no-school day for Hanlon and Deerfield students only. And I know that Principal Balmer, I think, is going to be communicating soon so that people kind of have that for advanced planning purposes. I do want to emphasize that nothing is written in stone at this point, but assuming it's all on track, that would be the plan. I think by probably the end of October, we'll really have a much better, sense that that's the solid plan.
Yeah, and I would just add that if it's not February break, then it will be April break.
Right, so if we, for some reason, but we are planning to move in February.
We are not going to.
But if for some reason that didn't happen, then we would just shift the plan to the April vacation, correct. We've consulted with DESE about the technical process for consolidations of two schools mid-year. And so my recommendation to the committee is that the district file the paperwork with DESE this summer to technically consolidate the two schools as of the start of the 23-24 school year. It's sort of a technical issue for us. That would allow the district this summer to do the data rollover in our student information system, and also allow LEMA to properly set up the FY24 budget with one cost center instead of having to make the transition mid-year at the time that we're also trying to move, right? So I think that makes sense. I think practically speaking, so you are technically allowed to have one school on multiple campuses. There will be one principal. So that's not a problem from DESE's perspective. The only real change for families is that when they log into their Aspen account in the fall, they will see Pine Hill up in the corner instead of Hanlon and Deerfield starting then. So that's my recommendation. It's on as an action item tonight. If you want to do that, that would let LEMA deal with the budget issue. Questions about that? No? Okay, and I do just want to say, so today, Hanlon and Deerfield had a combined field day. So I thought you'd take a look at some of the happy people. I see that they have Hanlon Deerfield t-shirts. That's really neat. I think that some people got to see some students that they hadn't seen in a while from some other schools, which is fun. Looks like a good time was had by all at that. So the consolidation process, starting with the kids too.
And I'll add, Emily, my boys were there, and they made friends that were a Hanlon family. They made friends at the Deerfield. A bunch of the kids were over, and they were trying to connect on a server with some Deerfield kids. It was
good.
nice.
All right. That's awesome. That's really great. Okay. Next, Sheehan update. I'm going to ask Lemma to come up. And could she sit there, Harley? Is that okay? Great.
Hello. So, as a reminder, last year, almost at this time, I think it was in May, we presented an update to the school committee on the capital needs at Sheehan. And at that time, we also shared a best case scenario, thinking like after the Hanlon Deerfield project, what might be possible for Sheehan. So that timeline presented like how we might proceed with a project at the town level with feasibility study, design, bidding, and construction, and when we might optimistically foresee a new Sheehan building. We've also, since then, submitted 3 statements of interest to the MSBA, and so each year we've done that. The first 2 were declined, and we have recently submitted a statement of interest that we will wait to hear back on. The anticipated response might be in the winter, the coming school year. We're honestly not very optimistic that we'll get funded because there is a lot of competition and other districts will also be seeking funding. So that's the status on that. I have been working with Tom Carey, our facilities director, to keep the building maintained and safe and operable in the meantime. And we have looked and depended on some of the information from the Dorr and Whittier study, a capital needs study that was published in 2020 that gives us some information about what are the projects available to us, and also what are the code requirements and what might trigger a larger requirement to bring the building up to code. So with that said, in the last year, there have been a couple of projects at Sheehan. One of them was a feed tank replacement, and this was kind of an emergency action that we needed to take. We had a leak in the boiler room in the course of this year. the leak was in the feed tank. It was just fortunate that we happened to have a feed tank on hand in the district. We had ordered it for Deerfield. We pivoted and patched Deerfield temporarily, installed that feed tank at Sheehan. We are also replacing the feed tank at Deerfield. But that was an immediate step that we took at a cost of about $18.5 thousand. We also undertook a lighting upgrade, so this is something that students and teachers might be more familiar with because they've seen the work and seen the impact of it. By changing lights to LED throughout the building, we've heard that the lighting and just the illumination in many of the classrooms, hallways, and other ancillary spaces has just been improved. The other benefit of that lighting upgrade was that we've reduced the load on our aging wires and our aging panels. We didn't upgrade any of that infrastructure. That wasn't in the scope of the project, but we have reduced the load, so we think that that will prolong the life on that equipment. The cost of the lighting upgrade was about $40,000, but we leveraged a good amount of funding through an Eversource incentive and then a Green Communities grant, and that was through the work of Tom Philbin, our town energy manager. So that was that project. There were other little things we did. We had to install a small air conditioning unit to accommodate student needs, so that also occurred. Most recently today, I attended a meeting with a company that has done a roofing assessment of the Sheehan. They conducted a moisture study. The report of that moisture study, or a draft report, was issued today. It's still being finalized by the vendor, but I was able to understand where we have moisture penetration in the roof at Sheehan. And that was a long-awaited report for me anyway. And we have learned that there is significant moisture penetration in 2 areas of the Sheehan roof. That's an important finding. The company does tell us that their recommendation is not repair or restoration because, we certainly could repair in isolated areas, but restoration is not really feasible because of the code and regulations that we would have to comply with. So it's really a replacement at this point that is required for those 2 sections of roof at Sheehan. Simultaneously, in that same, moisture assessment, we have looked at other buildings in the district. So we've learned that we also have some moisture penetration at Thurston. Similar scope, it's not really possible to restore in that section of roof at Thurston, so we'll also be looking at replacement. It's not the entire building, but there are sections at Thurston that do need attention. And then finally, what struck me in that report today is that Westwood High School is also due for some restoration work. At the high school, it won't be replacement, but it would be restoration that they recommend. So in the next few weeks, we'll get the final copy of that report. I think we'll need to be thinking in the context of the conversations that happened with the Long-Range Financial Committee at the town about what the priorities are for the district. And then from there, determine what the first steps would be. We do have some funding in our annual capital that we've accumulated for roof replacements, and we'll have to think about where to allocate that funding first. And in the meantime, I'll be working with our facilities department to consult an engineer to write the specifications. Once we know which project it will be, it takes time to get these underway, so we'll have to write the specifications and go out to bid to determine who
Can I
gets.
just clarify
Yep.
that the moisture, the roof issue is not a structural issue?
It is not a structural
Yeah.
issue, and also when I say moisture penetration, these are not active leaks. We do respond to active leaks immediately, and we get somebody in to repair that. So this is more moisture in the insulation. So over time, that doesn't improve the status of the roof, so it'll continue to deteriorate as long as you have that moisture penetration in the insulation. The fix involves taking that insulation out and replacing it, and then patching again, or a complete restoration, replacement of the roof, depending on the scope of the penetration. So in Sheehan and Thurston, it is larger in scope, whereas at the high school, we do have some moisture penetration, but it's isolated, and so we're able to restore.
Great.
It sounds like that'd be good for our new capital subcommittee to take a look at. So.
Yes. So I'm hoping that that does get off the ground soon.
Okay.
That's great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. All right, so moving on. So I wanted to give you an update about extended day. So as you know, school committee had a working group this year to examine our extended day program, and we were really looking at a few things: the program's finances, including tuition rates, staff wages, staffing ratios, whether or not the program had the staff that was with the appropriate expertise to meet the needs of the children accessing the program. And so as part of that process, we collected information from other area in-district daycare programs to see how ours compared to our neighbors. And we looked at the registration process, we looked at capacity, we had a lengthy discussion about this. As a result of that, as you'll recall, the school committee raised pay rates for staff in an attempt to fully staff the program. We've had a really tough time in the current labor market, not just us, this is the story everywhere, right? Fully staffing the program. And you also voted to adjust the tuition rate to be more in line with our neighbors. We've been running at a significant operating deficit, and we really needed to do something to stabilize that. And increasing the tuition is also what allows us to afford the increase in the pay rate for the staff, right? So I wanted to update you because we wondered during that discussion if increasing tuition was going to have an impact on demand. We've now been through the registration process for next year, and I can report that it did not have any impact on demand. In fact, I have to say we've received absolutely no feedback about the tuition hike, which was something that we thought we might hear from people because it was a fairly significant adjustment. We heard nothing. Perhaps because even with the increased tuition, it is still a very affordable daycare option. It's under market compared to private programs and, frankly, compared to other in-district programs that we looked at. So it appears that the current customers are satisfied in that sense. We have, however, received feedback from some families who are frustrated that they weren't able to secure a slot in extended day, or they were able to secure certain days, but weren't able to get as many days in the program as they wanted, or they've been placed on a wait list. So you've heard from folks, I've heard from a couple of people, Allison's heard from a couple of people. I think that as we kind of collate the feedback, it's really twofold. So first, I would say there are community members who clearly believe that the district should expand the size of the program in order to be able to accommodate the demand. That's been a clear theme. And then also, some people who were waitlisted or didn't get all of the days that they requested have raised concerns about the registration process itself, which does give priority to families who are currently enrolled for the days that they currently have, not to expand, to have additional days. Say a few people have raised questions about like the timestamp on their registration, kind of making comparisons to other people and who got what. I do want to say that anyone who knows Michael Fagoni, the director, knows that he is an upstanding, honest person, and I don't think there can be any question about his integrity. He works really hard to figure out how best to deploy known staff so that we can try to fit as many people into the program as possible. And so sometimes it's just about which sites are available at which grade level. It's a big Jenga puzzle. Is the registration system perfect? Probably not. I mean, when you're dealing with scarcity, it's very hard to come up with a system that everybody's going to say this works for me and this works for me, right? But we thought it through and have done the best we can. So I do want to clarify for the community, extended day is not part of the operating budget. That's another misunderstanding that has been clear to me. It's a tuition-based service. And I do really understand how valuable it is for families to be able to access daycare on site, right? I mean, it's right there. You don't have to transport your kids. And also it's very affordable, as we've said. So I certainly do understand that. And that's really why we continue to run extended day, right, as a service to the community. Extended day daycare is not part of our core mission, right? It's not part of our educational programs, but we understand that it's valuable. The working group found that the median size of the in-district programs that we compared ourselves to was 330 students. Our capacity this year is 455, so we're doing quite well on that front. And we talked about this with the working group, but if it's not just about numbers, right, because the districts themselves are different sizes, but if you look at that as a percentage, capacity as a percentage of the district, we're really doing, pretty well comparatively. In the last 10 years, I will say we have expanded from 2 sites to 4 sites, right? So we have really made an attempt to increase the capacity of the program as of next year, there will only be 4 elementary schools. We will have programs at every site. And, you know, based on our analysis, we just don't have the capacity in terms of staff or in terms of space to increase the size of the program. You know, the program relies on the use of larger spaces to have sort of bigger groups as a supervision model. The staffing ratios have to be safe. They have to be safe for kids. We cannot create liabilities for the district either, right? So I just want to say I know that it is really hard to find affordable daycare, not just in Westwood, right? This is the story everywhere, and I do empathize with working parents. I know that finding suitable childcare can really be a source of stress. I get that. I'm also going to say that while we think we're doing our part to support the community, I am a little puzzled. I feel like there's been an assertion from some folks that it's the district's obligation to provide daycare, and I do think that is beyond the scope of our current mission. As we talked about earlier in the year, the amount of time that administrators and central office and building principals spend on extended day issues, frankly, is disproportionate. And when we're doing that, we're not talking about math or reading. And so that has been, you know, that's been a challenge for us. So I do just want to remind the committee that in March 2021, you may recall, or maybe not, that the district actually came to the committee and recommended that you consider privatizing extended day. And we said we should write an RFP. We should try to see if we can get a vendor to take on the program. I think we actually wrote the RFP, right? We did that work to do that. At that time, extended day had been closed for 1.5 years, right? Because of COVID, we'd shut down. We were thinking about bringing it back, and we said at this moment of transition, let's think about changing the model. And so that's what we were going to do. I have to say we probably didn't roll it out as effectively as we could. March 2021, you know, we were at high water, right? So we could have done a better job with that. But the reaction of the community was, I would say, strenuously opposed, is what we found out, right? People came out to public participation, we did petitions, emails, don't privatize extended day. So we heard that, and we brought it back as a homegrown program. And so I just want to say it out loud again, because if the committee does want to think about other options, I don't know that privatizing it would expand capacity, but you could write an RFP and you could explore it and find out if someone else has the capacity to do more. So I don't know. So I just wanted to remind you about that. I guess we've got the RFP. So.
The space would continue to be an issue, though, right? I mean, we're not going to create more space
No.
just because somebody else takes over.
No, but they might have a different
Way of doing things.
location. They might have a different location even,
Sure. Yeah.
right?
And there'd be transportation costs, right? That
There would be, but there are other districts that, you know, I can think of one district that has like a satellite with the Y, and I think they bus kids, right? So, I mean, that, obviously, somebody would have to think that through carefully, but
With
It's
the
a possibility.
increased fees, are we still running a deficit?
It's hard to tell yet, so we'll be able to observe that as the year gets underway, but we think we're gonna be able to break even. That's my assessment, and it was designed just enough so that we certainly can break even. In fact, we were designing it to add a little bit more programmatic supports like staff support for behavioral needs and other student needs.
right.
And is the staffing, after raising the rates, is the staffing still an issue? Finding staff?
I don't think it's only finding, so staffing is always a challenge district-wide. We find that difficult. Thank you. So we're finding that hiring is hard, period, for our support staff district-wide, but I believe that the capacity issues are not really driven by staffing. They're driven by staffing as well as space.
It's the
And
space.
space and the design of the program. So by design, this program is not for students to be in small cohorts in classrooms. There are more activity-based programming, like it's full of activities, and you need spaces like cafeterias and gyms and playgrounds, and there are only so many of those in our buildings.
So an RFP could potentially uncover a different model that would maybe utilize the space differently to increase capacity.
It could.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm just reminding people that that was.
I'm just sort of
Yeah.
thinking aloud
I
here.
think the downside, though, would be that we would lose access to some of the staff that already work in the schools who are familiar with the children. And as I recall, in March 2021, that was the big concern. And that there are staff who sort of, year over year, anticipate being able to work after school at the extended day program.
Yes.
Right, I mean, we could write we've written the RFP, but you could write in it that they are required to at least interview current staff, right? And I don't know if we could even require a percentage, but regardless, like, I hear that concern, I know that was the concern the first time around. I guess the question is, what is the community feeling, right? Are they feeling more like we need more space, or more, or, I don't know. I mean, we talk about extended day so much, right? And as you say, it's not part of our core mission, so I'm just trying to.
Yeah, I want to say that when we brought the recommendation to issue the RFP, the purpose of that wasn't to increase capacity, right?
Right.
That had
Right.
that to do a whole bunch of
Right.
other operational things.
I
Yeah.
I would suggest we're not gonna solve this today. If we wanna
Right.
talk about it next year, we should do that, but I think we're not gonna solve it.
We are
today.
not going to solve it. This was just my last
Yeah,
chance
no,
to
I
say it to you, so-
your last chance. Everything's coming in today.
That's right. Yes, so that's the situation. And I will just say, we are always hiring in the Westwood Public Schools, like literally always. So substitute teachers, cafeteria workers, custodians, Conley's looking for bus drivers, cafeteria monitors, extended day staff. We are always hiring. Okay. Okay. So transitioning, one other thing. So a committee member had heard from a community member who was advocating for student athletes to be able to play music through the press box PA system on Fleha Field prior to the games, and you asked me to look into that, and I have. So please correct me if I get this wrong, Ms. Davenport, but it's our current practice that teams are not granted access for that purpose. And basically, the system is quite loud. And we believe that we have a responsibility to be good neighbors to the houses that are in the district. I can tell you, in the Wayback Machine, having been the former high school principal, I was the one who would field the phone calls when people were not happy about the volume of the music, and also frequently didn't like the music selection. So there were questions about lyrics, and things got dicey. So, we've sort of taken the good neighbor approach to that. Instead, what we do is we have 2 portable speaker systems. So there can be one on Fleha Field, there can be one on the multi-purpose field, and student athletes are welcome to, hook up their playlists to those portable speakers, because they like to get psyched up before games and play their music that way. The press box PA is used to call games, and the only time we use it for music is MIA playoff games. Any team that's in the playoffs, and I think the MIA likes us to do that. Is that right? Yes. So that was what I was able to find out.
Okay, great. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, let's move along to public participation. So, public participation is an opportunity for members of the community to share with the school committee any thoughts on the schools or the school committee programs and policies. Per our policy, we do not respond in the meeting to any public comments, and per our policy, you have up to 3 minutes to participate, and we do keep a timer here. And so I would just ask if anyone who's interested in public participation, raise your hand. I'll call on you, address all comments to the chair, and if you could come up to this microphone and say your name and address, that would be, you even have
Well, I
Okay.
have my
okay, go ahead. You were first. I'll go left to right, then you, and then Julie, and then, yeah.
Yes,
I
you come
think
to
the
that
microphone.
microphone.
Michael, you want to come up together?
Yeah, we have a
Tag
handout.
teaming.
Sure, you may hand something to the, yeah.
So unfortunately, to continue the conversation about extended day.
Thank you.
I should say, I'm Kate Latham, 42 Della Park Road. And so we are raising the issue about extended day, and both the registration process and kind of the allocation process and the transparency around it for those of us who are trying to register. It sounds like what we're asking for and what you guys have been talking about might align well, but our ask in this is to really create a task force that works with Michael and the program directors to develop something that's more equitable and doesn't penalize families who were slightly late to register or who were waitlisted last year, and really come up with constructive solutions. Maybe it is privatizing or doing some sort of combination, but we really like the task force to include parents who are participating in the program or trying to, and make sure that those voices are heard. I'll say, anecdotally, you'll hear from other people, so I'll speak for myself. That when my son entered kindergarten last year, we registered for extended day. I was told that that would be, that was what everyone did. And so I came in, I registered 20 minutes late. I didn't realize how competitive it would be. And we got waitlisted for all 5 days. And that was communicated 2 weeks before the school year started. So we had to scramble. Obviously, they had staffing issues. Equally then really hard to get someone to cover that individually. We did find someone, but it costs $250 a week, so just between $9,000 to $10,000 excluding vacations. Then we were able to get in for Friday, and that was great. We're going to be returning families. So then this year, when the registration process came around, I was like 7:02, let's get in there. But the process only allowed me, even though I was waitlisted for the other 4 days, we only could get Friday, which now my husband and I are at the point that we have to think about. I'm the head of HR for a 300-plus global company, and I have to consider stepping down from that role and finding something that allows flexibility so I can provide after-school care for my child and future person who's going to be in the school system. So we've put together a petition. We have this signed by over 100 people within 3 days. I think before we came in here, it was like 125 residents of Westwood. And so that'll provide more detail. We'll email everything and the final list of people who have signed up, but really appreciate your consideration and just want to come up with
All right,
some
thank you,
constructive
Kate.
solutions.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Julie.
Hi, Julian Bride, 20 Whitney Ave. Mom of 2 high school students, former committee member of FinCom, and I'm on the Long Range Planning Committee now. I am the person who is interested, as well as others who couldn't be here tonight due to playoff games, of reconsidering the use of the press box for music. And I think there's 2 requests I have tonight. One, let's talk about how we can better use that press box. When Westwood goes to other towns to compete, every other town uses their press box to generate excitement, get this home field advantage that we don't have. We don't come in as top tier when other towns come to us. When we go there, it's fun, it's energetic, they're off to the races. And I do think that the change to, players and plays can be announced from the press box. For some sports, that's a couple of comments during a game. For others, that's 2 hours of commentary. So I really see using music before the game as an incremental change to the press box. It's 15, 20 minutes, it's over. Music lists are checked and all that has to happen. The third point about this, as a FinCom member, a taxpayer, I'm acutely aware of things discussed tonight of budget constraints, trying to find resources, and I really do think it's short-sighted to have a state-of-the-art facility that's just not being used. And on top of that, I think the high school's done a nice job creating a workaround with speakers, but we're taxing staff to bring that out, to find it, to pay for speakers that I don't think is a good use of anyone's time. And the last point, I understand being a good neighbor, but I do think people that buy adjacent or near their school, sometimes I hear Norwood, where I live, you understand that's part of living in that community. If you're living next to a fire station, you're gonna hear fire engines. And I really don't think 2 home games a week, 20 minutes of music a game is really gonna push anyone in the community over the edge. So my second request is, on top of that, I think the school has created this workaround in an effort to be helpful. Unfortunately, it's really hard, and it's a team-by-team approach. So navigating this, and I think Ms. Davenport remembers, she and I spent frustrating conversation last year trying to get music. There is no documented process. Every team has to figure it out for themselves. And the bigger concern is it's really giving a perception that there's unequitable access to school resources and town resources. So I really think the school, regardless of what your decision is, you really have to document what it takes to get to the press box, what the rules are, and what the snack shack is. Because right now, I have people coming to me because they know we got music for boys soccer last year. Shouldn't work that way. Emily, thank you for everything you've done to the town, for the town. It's been great to have you. My time's up.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Julie. The gentleman in the back, yes.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity to talk about extended day a little bit more. Dan Juergens, Fisher Street. I have 3 kids, 2 in Thurston, 1 in Martha Jones. All 3 have been an extended day. Westwood's an unbelievable town to live in. We could not live here if we weren't a dual income family. I raced here, came in late. I gotta leave to pick him up at extended day shortly. So without that, we just wouldn't be able to make it work. This is just an ancillary story because you're gonna probably hear a lot, but we get that 7 on the dot registration every single year because it's that important to us. We also are on various boards. We donate a lot of our time to coaching, athletics. My wife's coaching that night. I had knee surgery. I'm at PT. I had no service. Like, you can imagine, like, the panic because what this now does to our family, not being able to go to extended day. My older daughter's at Thurston, perfect. Get home, get the little guy off the bus. You're babysitting now. Now this coincides with the change in dismissal times, where Martha Jones buses are, what, an hour, I think, before Thurston will now be home. So there's this gap that we can't make work, right?
Thurston is still the same.
Right now, but next year,
Next year, it's the same.
it's the same next year?
And the elementary school is pretty much the same too. So Thurston will get out well before the elementary school next year.
Okay, I misunderstood
Sorry,
that then.
I didn't mean to.
Yeah, well, it's good, you don't have to worry about that, so.
Check one thing off, but yeah, I mean, again, a 6th grader watching a 2nd grader isn't ideal. It was like last resort. So I appreciate your time. It's anything that we can do, whether it's different types of programs and different sizes of rooms. An advocate and happy to be on any type of parent task force to brainstorm or bring other ideas because it's critical to a lot of families, and we're lucky to have it. And I know it's not your core mission, but it allows us to kind of be part of this great community. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, one.
Hi, Katie Collins, 101 Arcadia Road. I'm a teacher. I work in Needham. I'm a parent of a Martha Jones student, and I have a 4-year-old. And I'm here today to see if there's an opportunity to join together as a community to find a solution for the enrollment and capacity issues at Extended Day. So last year, my friends explained to me as an incoming K parent that enrollment is very competitive. At the time of registration came out, I was in the car. It was 9 a.m. I just dropped my daughter off at camp. I pulled over. I did it on the side of the road. 2 weeks later, I found out that we had been waitlisted for all 5 days. Just like all other families, we were put in this sticky situation to find 2 weeks for daycare for our kindergarten child. So over the past school year, my 75-year-old mother drove 30 minutes twice a week to get my daughter off the bus. My 77-year-old in-laws took her once a week. My husband was leaving work early, and we also had a friend who offered to take her after school once a week. We're fortunate to have the support system, and then in December of 2022, we were offered 2 days, Monday and Friday. I accepted Friday, and I said to Michael, I said, you know what, I know there's another person out here who needs this day. My mom was taking her that day. Give it to the next person on the wait list. So this year when registration came out, I am part of the returning family group is what I thought. So at 7 a.m. it came out, 7:02, Kate Latham, I'm with you. And 2 weeks later, we found out that I only received one after school day, Friday, the day that I'm currently enrolled. I enrolled in this first wave of the returning families, and it was not clear that I was actually considered a waitlist family for the other 3 days that I needed. If I had kept that Monday day that I was offered in December of 22, I would have received Monday and Friday this year, even though I didn't need Monday last year. The enrollment process is based upon registration timestamp and gives priorities to families to the days that families are currently paying for. And this creates a situation where families hold on to days in order to secure the same day the following year, ultimately creating a problematic cycle. So we believe that we have an opportunity here to create a process that is more transparent and fair for all eligible families. We'd like to leverage technology to streamline and automate the enrollment process so it reduces any manual procedures that are currently happening, establish a parent advisory committee and provide a voice for parents in partnership with the school board, administration, and the extended day team, and allocate a larger percentage of the after-school enrollment to grades K through 2, as this is a population of students who cannot go home by themselves and be home by themselves. In the past, there have been conversations about privatizing the extended day program, and this may introduce additional issues such as the potential loss of instructional aides, staff continuity, and behavioral support. And I know that there are parents of young children in the elementary schools that are eager to contribute towards finding a solution, so I'm hoping that we can find a way to collaborate and explore feasible options to enhance transparency and equity in this policy. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Any other? Yeah, you and then you. Yep. Go. Come on. I would ask. I mean, you can certainly repeat comments, but I'd ask if you try to keep it to new comments on the extended day topic.
Hi, this is Xue, 135 Fansville. So I would like to continue, actually, unfortunately, but on the extended day program, introduce myself, my family a little bit. So I work in Cambridge, I'm working in biotech, working on oncology programs, and my commute is about 3 hours a day, and I work in the lab. And my husband works as a cybersecurity engineer, and he travels to DC. We have a 5-year-old that just started this year at Martha Jones. So in regard to our extended day program, I would like to have more transparency, a better way of selection for students, and also priority on kindergarten and younger children, as the previous parents mentioned that they're not capable of being home by themselves. And a little bit story on how we registered. So I made my husband take my son to the playground, 6:40, and I was waiting on the laptop, refreshing, literally signed him up at 7 o'clock, and we got listed. We didn't get in for the morning, we didn't get in for the afternoon. And when I emailed Michael asking for details, I was not given any information on how the families are selected, how the staff are arranged at different sites. And, throughout my conversation with especially young families, everybody's really frustrated with this program. And also just to mention that, from what I've learned, that in Quincy, there are a lot of private childcare programs after school that actually bus kids from the school to the programs, as well as in Lexington, there's a whole street of after-school programs. We're also a member of the Lifetime at Westwood, and they have after-school program, but they don't have any buses that would go pick up the kids from the schools. So if there anything we can do as parents, we would eager to help out. I understand, as you mentioned previously, this is not the main focus for the committee, but I think it's, the after-school education is just as important for a child's growth as during the daytime. And, money aside, I feel like especially when kids are young, they need to be in the community, they need to grow and, play with the kids other than in their age, other than being home with a babysitter. And that's why our biggest concern and why we want to sign him up for an extended day. So if there's anything we can do, I also think in terms of the privatize the program, I think 2021 was a different time. Parents were working from home, now everything's different. We're back to normal again. So I would say if we have restart that conversation again, you may get different feedbacks also from younger parents like me, myself. But yeah, thank you. I know there's a lot of information, but thanks.
Thank you. Yep.
Good evening. Matt Landry, live over on Buckmaster Road. I have 5-year-old twins, Will and Josie. We had the pleasure of meeting Principal Evans, who I think is here today over at the Sheehan School. We've been in town for about 6 years paying for private child care for our twins. So my perspective is that of a new family incoming into the school system. And what I can tell you is that you've got a mini Game of Thrones going on every year with this enrollment process, and I'm not here to solve your problem. I'm the solicitor for a number of boards and commissions. I've been on that side of the table. I appreciate what you do. I think what you should take back here, I did sign that petition. I don't usually get involved unless it's something I'm passionate about. Sorry, so my kids, we're stressed out. I know it's not guaranteed, the extended day program. I understand that and I appreciate it. When that email came out, We filled it out in 5 minutes, preschool, before school, after school. We didn't get a single day. We were waitlisted for all of them. You have 3 incoming kindergarten classes, 17 kids apiece, from what I understand, over 50 kids. 15 spots were available for the entire school. 15. And when I called and followed up, well, Michael is a wonderful person. I wouldn't want his job, but he's wonderful, provided as much information as possible. He said that we were 7 and 8 on the wait list. Took us 6 minutes to fill out that application for 2 kids. We're 7 and 8, and he said 11 of those 15 spots were already taken by the time we filled it out. There's preference given to kids and other families that are there. I respect that. I get it. I don't want to have to do this every year. I mean, there's got to be some expectation from the parents. I don't think there's enough communication or enough dialogue between the committee, the extended day program, and the parents. I would implore you to at least consider a workshop or some other options in encouraging that dialogue with the parents. My wife and I both work. She's in healthcare. I'm an attorney, as I said. It's difficult. If we have to find other care, we will. But my wife is very type A. She plans a year in advance. We had all the information at extended day a year ago, and this is incredibly overwhelming and frankly disappointing. We shouldn't have our first interaction with the school system to be this stressful and feel like there's a lack of communication with the parents. So I just ask you that you hear us out, hear the parents out, encourage the input. I think with that amount of enrollment, times change, you've got more demand. I think you need to look at it. And I understand that's not the core goal, as I heard this evening, of this committee, but maybe it should be. I mean, it's a program that this school offers, this community offers. The children are your core value, and the children should be a core value for before and after programs. So thank you for your time. Thanks.
Okay. So I know, let me just say, children are a core value. And I don't ever question that of this committee. All right, let's move on. Let's go to the chair's update. The few things I want to update the chair on, update today. First, the Capital Formation Committee. I think we talked about that last time. The intent of the Capital Formation Committee is really to look at the long-range capital plans. And, you know, I think I've asked Maya to be the chair and Dory to be on the committee as well. There's a lot of work to be done, I think, lucky you, to look at Sheehan, to look at Thurston. You heard the roofing issues. I think there's all sorts of other things to look at. So we will vote on that later today. The summer meeting, I think, has been scheduled for Thursday, July, what is it? 20th? 20th? Is that, okay, 20th. That's going to be a session where we actually have, it's going to be more of a training session with Tim, where we're going to bring on and kind of think about how we work together more effectively. And then I think that's, the only other thing I'll say is I've been brought to my attention that there's, many of you may have heard a little bit about the MSBA kind of zoning that's going across the state. This could have some impacts potential impacts on the schools. This planning board actually had a meeting last night where they were considering the first proposal under that. So I think as we think about the liaisons for this year, it might be helpful to have a liaison for the planning board. So as we think about that at the next meeting, I'll be anyone who's interested in that, entertain volunteers. Okay, and now we're going to go to the school building update.
All right, so we are coming along. As Emily mentioned earlier, we are right now still on track for a February opening. And we're giving a couple of photos here, a little bit of a teaser of what's happening on the site. The photo on the left shows the terracotta tile starting to go up the exterior of the building. As you can see how they're laying it, all of that sort of steel, that metal grid, that's where all the tile will go. And I think it's looking really good. I don't know, people in the SBC who are in this room knows we hemmed and hawed about this terracotta for weeks.
Remember that.
And then we had to see it in person, and then we had the color change, and then, anyway, it was quite an ordeal. So to see it go up and actually look fantastic is really very, very rewarding, I think, and everyone's very excited about that. And then on the other photo is the wall of windows, I think, for the media center, the library, And you can see that they're starting to put the windows in, and I think, again, it's just going to be pretty spectacular once that wall goes in. And then I think you have the final photo. This is actually inside the media center. It's a 2-level media center, so you are standing on the 2nd floor. That wall of windows is to the left, if you're from this perspective, and to the right is a railing with the mezzanine 2nd floor of the media center. So you can see drywall is up, and it's coming along. And I know there's some inspections recently by some members of the community, and I think that every day there's something new going up, and it's just very exciting. So those are just a couple pictures I thought I would share. I don't know if there's any questions. Oh, all right.
Thank you, ma'am. Policy Review Subcommittee.
The last one. This is our last update. I couldn't be more thrilled. So just want to kind of remind everybody about the process we went through. So for the past 18 months, we've been working on this. And we post all of the policies that we've reviewed a month in advance, so people have a chance to review them themselves, people in the community and on the committee. So each of the policies have effectively been on 2 school committee agendas over the course of the past 18 months. So we are wrapping up, and we intend to vote on the adopting the entire policy book in July. There are a couple of policies that we're going to leave unchanged for the time being because they require more work that, I think the whole committee should collaborate on, regarding like private tutoring and buses, those sort of things. So we'll get back to those. And then, of course, we'll be referring back as we work through the equity audit. But that is kind of where the process stands now. Any questions?
Big thank you. Big thank you.
course.
Joanna,
Yes.
late Joanna.
Thanks for
Thank
jumping
you
in, Joanna.
to
Yeah.
Charlie, who's not here, who just,
Who's
I
walking
think that's what
the
drove him to retirement from the committee. But thank you. I know it
Of
was,
course.
thank you for all the work. I know it was a lot of meetings.
Yeah, no, of course, happy to do it.
Okay. Any other reports from the committee?
I'll just share 2 things. One, I know that from sitting on a few PTO meetings that the PTOs have been working really hard this year, I think, to recreate a sense of community up through a lot of the events that we've seen advertised over the last few weeks. And so just a shout out to those hardworking kind of parents who are carving out the time to recognize our teachers and create community for our students. And I will also just quickly share, having recently joined the Commission on Disability for the town, they're looking for members. And so if that particular topic is of interest, I recommend reach out. They have a website on the town website, and they're looking for folks. That's it.
Great. Nothing else? Great. We're going to move on to discussion items. The first is the Wellness Curriculum Review Report, which has been long awaited after many, many years.
Do you want to introduce it?
I know. COVID interfered, I know, a little bit, Tim.
Yeah. You didn't bring your medals also. I do want to acknowledge this is, we had 2 very prolonged curriculum reviews. One was social studies. It started pre-pandemic and then stretched out in wellness also. And some exciting things have happened, I think, and part of the reason for this getting sort of pulled out is in the middle of this, we did a start time review, some things that I think were on the radar and topics very directly related to student wellness as well. And Tim really led this process from start to finish with group members coming and going, and has seen it through to an end, and got a graduate degree in there too somewhere. So I'm really thrilled to have him heading this department, and I think the work is going to tee up some great things. So turn it over.
Thank you.
It's
on.
just
Okay.
for the-
Thank you. First of all, I just want everyone to understand my normal audience is 5 to 10-year-olds. So it's a little different for me. Hello, I want to first thank the committee for having us here tonight to talk about what we've learned over the last few months and years. I also want to publicly take a moment to thank my staff. I am fortunate to supervise some dedicated, caring, absolutely superb professionals in every discipline that we teach in our wellness department, and I'm lucky for that. I'd like to also thank Allison for her guiding hand through this review. it's been a long, drawn-out thing, and we keep getting back on and getting it to where it's got to be. And I'd like to thank Emily for doing the slides tonight, but also for her dedication to our wellness department over the years, and beyond that, everything she's done for this district. It's unspeakable. I also want to thank all the members of the Wellness Review Committee, who from a long time ago, some have come and gone, and some have literally moved away and things like that, graduated from high school. But we were able to get a lot of perspectives. I'll speak a bit more to that in a moment. Yes, next. The last wellness review was in 2011, so you can see that that times change, and the biggest thing I want to note is that everyone just rewind your clock, 12 years. And I wasn't that involved in the review part. I was involved in the rewrite. But if you think about it, it was an epidemic of obesity and overweight that was what the biggest concern on people's minds around wellness. And to think now of the shift that has occurred regarding, specifically, I think you all know what I'm talking about, it's mental health and what that new focus has to be. And I think the timing of our review was really interesting. Sorry, I'm talking to both. The timing of our review was interesting because we got the sort of a little bit of a pre-pandemic, and then we took a break, and then coming back post-pandemic, it really magnified a lot of those concerns for us. A couple of slices of data to think about in the mental health realm that I think are just worth seeing from the Metro West Student Health Survey data that came to us kind of late in this process. The survey was done last fall, and that 1,000%, the first time Allison saw it, she goes, "Is this supposed to be 1,000? That seems like a really large number." And sure enough, it's a 10x from in grade 6, when we talk about stress as opposed to anxiety, two different things. But when we talk about stress, it's 6, was it 7%, I think? Yeah, no, 6%. It was 6% of students report stress. And then by the grade 12, that's up to 57% of students that report stress. When we talk about anxiety, it's reported 22 self-report anxiety in middle school and 37 in high school. So those are numbers that I think are just really, I hope drive those points home and help to contextualize the shift in thinking over the years. The committee, I guess the biggest thing about this is the variety of perspectives. We were really proud to get a group together that had a lot of different angles to look at wellness from. And I think in doing so, it has given us an end product and an end result of a recommendations document that we think is comprehensive and thorough and really covers a lot of bases. Wellness is a many tentacled entity. There's a lot going on, and I think we really got to the bottom of a lot of it. When we first set out with goals, three major things drove us. One was state and national standards, and you can see the logos of the various organizations that do a lot of think tanking to come up with these things, and so we paid attention to those. The Westwood Public Schools strategies for district improvement, which I know are revised every so often, but those were a real guiding light for us as well, particularly with the amount of emphasis that, as the game went on social emotional learning and skills, and diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the need to really pay attention, keep our eye on those balls. I need one of my cards, a red thing that says slow and pace. So you can move down the corner, the red Sharpie. Anyway, so again, to reiterate some of that, here's some of the things we paid attention to in the process. Notably there, the vertical representations of our current curricula were just kind of a K to 12 view in PE, what that looks like, and health education, what that looks like, and CASE just sits in there, its own little 6th grade thing. It smells great when you go in that room. It's always cookies. But our committee was able to look at those vertical representations and really look for, Allison's word, not mine, opportunities. To find the best places where we need to pay attention to what needs to get done. Some of those things came very clear really early. People that are here on our committee, that very early on, there's some, I was using the word gaps, but there's some gaps that are real and we need to acknowledge that really provide us opportunities of places where, given the right resources, we can really make things better. We also obviously, various health data, best practices, some notable site visits to see some really robust programming, and particularly in high school physical education and fitness. and in elementary school wellness. There's the word opportunities again. And on my notes, I wrote, another word for that is gaps. So, and as I said, we did, not stumble into some notable gaps, but just to tell you where those are and what they are. One is that we don't have, other than a couple of push-in, pull-out type programs, like little small programs in elementary school, we have virtually no elementary school health curriculum to really stand on. And that's something that we hope can get addressed over time. Resources is another thing. Alice and I had this conversation that this review is a lot about the what and the why, and you'll see there's a big table if you ever go to the big document. It's recommendations and rationales. There's not a third column that says how. And those are conversations for another time about resources, but we also, we'll be entertaining possibilities to be really creative with that and how we can share some of the load among science education and just a lot of ways we can approach this. Imbalances of the delivery timeline, that essentially just means that, again, other than a 7 to 8 class push-in 7th and 8th grade, we don't have any formal health ed curriculum in 7th and 8th grade other than a 7 or 8 class push-in. It's like a mini unit. 6th grade, full health curriculum, but I don't think I have to tell you what that means in terms of missing some age-appropriate opportunities for a lot of really important things that are going on at that point in our folks' lives. The third gap that we noticed was the lack of structured health or PE in grades 11 and 12. We're one of very few remaining schools that allows any kind of a waiver or a sports participation to cover a PE requirement. It's really becoming a thing of the past, and I think that needs to be publicly acknowledged. Our kids are active. I'm not going to deny that. Our high school kids, a really high percentage of kids are physically active, but some kind of structured, physical education and health education for those grades. I've seen what it looks like. Nate Costello was with me on the trip to Natick, and just to see what a robust program looks like, very, very adult-like, very, this is how you transition into running into, self-efficacy around your own life and fitness. And SEL needs based on student health data. I showed a little bit of data before, but obviously that's also because of the district priorities around social emotional learning. Overall recommendations, you can read. I don't have to go through them one by one. I'd rather just comment on the slide as a whole and just say that we believe in wellness. We're already doing this a lot. And I think my staff, my faculty believes that, and we do it on a daily basis, and we see it. But there's still just opportunities that are unique in the wellness realm to really be a driver for the district in SEL, in culturally responsive education, and obviously developmentally appropriate growth. And I'm not going to read them all. More specifically, the print gets smaller, the number of them gets bigger. The recommendations pre-K through 5, you can take a look at those. A couple of things that I just want, again, to highlight is that without, addressing the needs of health ed for K through 5, it's, that's going to be a challenge that goes along with much of what's up there right now. However, things like more explicit use of SEL as the district hones in on doing some more across the district type initiatives around SEL. We want to be a part of that and a leader in that over where we are. Explicit SEL lessons, more consistent integration of SEL into every lesson. I think it's just something that we can do. And, we might see a group for only 45 minutes a week in elementary PE, but the opportunities we have around what's going on, the kids they're interacting in ways that are different than in the classroom, and we recognize that. In middle school, again, I talked about the delivery timeline being an issue with the 7th and 8th grade. I hope everybody understands that. We want to expand disability awareness education. It was on the other slide with regard to sort of tweaking and changing the delivery of that a bit. In middle school, we don't do any of it formally right now. So that's something that we're going to begin to address and plan as part of the implementations of the curriculum review. The one area that I'd like to mention, CASE, culinary arts and consumer ed, that is, we've already started over there with our teacher, Becky Wyatt, to start to do more things around culturally responsive education, because what better place than food to really emphasize a lot of things around culture. So that's great. And where I said individual fitness and self-efficacy in middle school physical education, you know, that is multifaceted, but the driver is SEL. You know, we think that personal fitness is a real way to start to get kids to take responsibility for themselves, and it really fits into the CASEL competencies really well. The picture, by the way, our middle schoolers, they organized and did a field trip of the entire 8th grade to Central Rock Gym, and I was lucky to go along and belay a lot of our friends. But a massively successful day, and to really see kids stepping out of their comfort zone and take on challenges was something beautiful. High school. Again, the opportunities, not gap, I'll stop using that word, but the opportunities in 11th to 12th grade are pretty clear and obvious. Other things on here, when some of the C-tape is my Java-like group that I hang with sometimes, and they have some data from over the years that I was able to like compare. They'd sent out some spreadsheets that talked about what's offered where, and waivers and staffing and all these things. And just to put this in perspective numbers-wise around resources, we have roughly 1,000 people, give or take, at Westwood High School, and we have two wellness educators. Okay, the average for our general geography here is 4.4 per 1,000, and you know, where we went to Nate and I, and saw what was going on there, they have roughly 1.5. You can correct me because you're in that neighborhood. I think 1.5 times the students.
Yeah, about 1,600 students. Yeah.
And they have 5 times the FTEs committed to wellness in that program. So that's just food for thought. And another one I know that Abby would like to see there is that we really want to get our hands a little bit more on high school APE. There's some really beautiful things that go on now, but they're really kind of not under our umbrella, and we want to have a hand in that. Implementation, yeah, you can see it there. We've been approved for 60 hours this summer. I'm going to put together a team of 5 people, and we'll meet a few times and start to get to work on those particular things. Revising curriculum maps. I never used this term before, but lenses checklist. We're going to develop an equity lens checklist that we can use in everything we do, and how, you know, Ms. Wyatt approaches her cooking lessons in case, and how we approach different topics in high school health and in elementary PE. Like, we're going to try to apply that lens checklist to everything, and we're hopefully going to get that to work on that one this summer, along with authentic high school fitness. So that's this summer. As time goes on, it'll be the focus of our department PD time next year during the year, and then hopefully get approved for a little more continued curriculum work next summer, and then more implementations in 24, 25. In conclusion, you know, I just want to circle back to the beginning and just reiterate that we are responding to just changing times and changing needs, and to what our students are, and to reiterate what Anthony said. You know, kids are our core value, and I think wellness should be and needs to be held dearly at the core of that. And I think we are appreciated, but as we move forward and talk about resources, you know, that's something where we're going to hope that when the rubber meets the road, we can be supported there. That's the how. You know, hopefully, if you care to go into the big document, you know, it's actually longer than any paper I wrote in my grad school. And that's how I approached it. I was like, I'm writing, but I was doing this all the time for a couple of years. And again, go in and look through the whole document. And if you have, I'm an easy person to reach. Just email me. And if you have questions, I'll be there. And again, I couldn't say it better myself. Kids are our core value. It's great. I did want to add one thing from the Metro West survey, because we haven't really made a ton of that data public, but this is a really fun one. I know everybody smiles when they hear it, but they had a whole category of questions on there. And it was in both middle school and high school. And the combined data for I want to say 6 or 8 towns that were combined this time around, we were at the very top for school connectedness. There were, whatever, 4 or 5 questions about school connectedness, how kids feel connected to school, to their teachers, to their peers, to how it fits in their lives. And Westwood was number 1 in every single thing on school connectedness. And I just thought that for everything we're doing in the wellness department, for everything you're doing student services, and you're doing technology, and you guys are doing as a school committee and our administration, we're doing something right in this town. So let's keep it up.
Thank you, Tim. Questions for Tim?
I have a quick question for you.
Yes.
In Natick, I think you referenced where they have the larger teams of wellness staff. What's the background of those individuals?
They're certified either health teachers, physical education teachers, in many cases both. Yeah, when I tell you robust, it was something to see. Like, Pilates and meditation and I think that a key term that I would add to that discussion would be required electives. We've taken stabs at trying to put a wellness elective out for 11th and 12th graders, and I think by the time a lot of parents in Westwood go through it and say, is that gonna help me get into college? It gets weeded out a little bit, and we didn't get much response. But when you're required to take a semester of wellness, and you have these really amazing options, I think that we can really enhance kids' lives in that way.
Thank you.
Other questions for Tim?
Can I just make a comment?
Yeah, sure, question.
I just want to thank you for this thorough document. I read through it, and I really appreciate what you've put out there.
Oh, thank you.
You might not remember this, but I remember talking to you when my upcoming 5th grader was going through this lesson. He's now in 8th grade. And I was like, where's the talk of like consent? Where's the talk of, when do we talk about that as a district? When do we talk about, how to keep each other safe, how to keep ourselves safe, how to protect our kids? That discussion there's like this gap from 5th to 9th grade. And I'm so happy to see an effort in that direction, because I think in 2023, we need to be teaching our kids how to keep themselves safe and advocate for one another. So I'm really glad to see that in this document. Thank you.
Thank you. And you can show my last slide.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
And I don't know if it's up yet, but we will make sure for the community, anyone who's really interested in it, double click. There's actually the report, to Joanna's point, was excellent. And this was great, but there's a lot of great detail that gets into this, but we'll put that on the district website under the school committee's page. Okay.
Score update before you continue.
Oh, sure, of course.
Baseball 1-2 to 1. Girls lacrosse is up 12 to 4.
All right, thank you, Amy.
Stay tuned.
All right. We'll hope. All right, the next topic is the district goals report.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to be super efficient. So I provided a lengthy district goals report in your packet, so I will not repeat all of that, but I'll just remind everybody that the district goals are set out each year, and they're really centered around these 4 sort of big buckets, these big objectives, and then we articulate 3 to 4 priorities for each category. And then each of those priorities are operationalized with a series of action steps. And I think when you look at them, you can see that the goals are really focused on the instructional core, and they're interconnected, and they're complementary. And for us, the administrative council, the district leadership team, really uses this to kind of guide our work. We constantly refer to those priorities, we come back to them, we think about where we are in that process. Last week, we spent the day together, the administrative council, for our sort of twice yearly full-day retreats. And we were able to invite incoming Superintendent Pavovar and our incoming Student Services Director, Sue Maselli, to join us, which was great. It was an opportunity for us to really assess where we are with all of those priorities and to start thinking ahead towards next year. So I just want to say that we have an ongoing discussion here at school committee about the goals. And that's nice. I don't feel like I have to go over it all again, right? But I'm just going to remind you here that every month at school committee, we're talking about some particular strategic priority. And so I'm kind of listing some of the things that we've looked at here: the math curriculum review, the school start time, the launch of the district's equity website, the presentation of the equity audit findings. You heard from Tim tonight, right? So this is just, it's the ongoing work. Certainly that 4th category, building project updates, We keep talking about Sheehan status, capital planning. We've talked about a number of sustainability initiatives this year, right? So that's part of the ongoing discussion. Oops. Oh, I guess I keep going here. So school security improvements. You heard from Steve Drask. We've talked a lot about our special education reviews from DESE, and then, of course, the policy manual. And I don't think we can understate. That was a big project, and, you know, the policy manual is critically important to the work. We're looking at it every day, you know, and so that was a really, really important project for us. As I looked over the list of all of those annual priorities, I saw a couple of ones that we just didn't talk about at school committee, and so I thought I might just like highlight those areas. So one is priority 2.1, and this had to do with mapping curriculum and providing professional development to support the alignment of social studies curriculum. This is coming off of the social studies curriculum review, which Allison presented last year, right? Yes, last year? The years are blurring. I think it was last year, but now here we are implementing. And so an exciting thing that has happened this year is that we implemented the high school civic action projects course, which we call CAPS. And so this year, this was a co-taught semester-long interdisciplinary course between social studies and English. And it was designed for students to work either individually or in groups to identify some area of interest in the community, and then they had to sort of reach out to stakeholders and consider possible paths to get involved or to work on a particular issue. And the idea here is that we're trying to grow kids who are going to be really engaged as citizens and engaged in their community. And so they did that, and then the other piece of it was a public speaking component that was tied directly to sort of the project that they were working on. So we did that this year, and based on that experience this year, we're making some changes next year. So next year, CAPS is going to be divided into 2 separate term-long courses. Public speaking will be its own thing, and then fully housed in social studies is going to be the civic action course. What I think is really interesting, the shift we're going to make is that the civic action is going to focus on sort of these broad topics of civic engagement and government structure, but also really focus on the local community and what's happening in Westwood. And so we had a lot of conversations about, should kids go out and figure out what issue, you know, and there's some value in that, but we were thinking about all the things that are real life issues that are happening in Westwood where we think there are really great entry points for kids to be authentically doing it. So not just sort of presenting like hypothetical projects, but maybe they could actually learn how to come to public comment, right? And talk about some things. And, you know, I saw lots of discussions about like sustainability issues this year at different boards. And I know we have kids who are really interested in that and knowledgeable about it. So, you know, we want them to investigate the issues that will actually be discussed at Spring's Town meeting. That's the idea. And our CAPS teachers have already, they went and met with Town Administrator Chris Coleman to sort of talk about how we can collaborate with them. So that's really exciting. And I would just add that the middle school, the 8th grade civics project, that's further along in its development. But an exciting thing that happened this year is that Dottie Powers, our town clerk, came in to the middle school to present an overview about Westwood's form of government and to kind of orient kids to different town departments that they may need to connect with depending on what their project focus was. So that was cool. And then secondly, I just want to talk about priority 2.3. We initiated the curriculum review process for library media and digital literacy computer science. So that group is off and running. They've developed their vision statement. They've developed some survey tools, deployed them or looking at the results. And next fall, they'll be doing the kind of work Tim was talking about, site visits, classroom visits, et cetera. In the meantime, though, at the middle school, we piloted some new curriculum resources from something called UpSavvy, which is a digital citizenship curriculum in 6th grade advisory and health classes. We also did district-wide, all staff this fall and into the winter, it's quite a process, participated in a state grant-funded professional development around cybersecurity. It was tough too, because they would do things like send you random phishing campaigns, and it was like, are you gonna bite, you know, so you had to really be on your toes.
A lot of paranoia.
We had a lot of people flagging everything that came to us, yes. But it was good, because there have been some very sad stories in some other communities and school districts, and so we thought it was important to get trained on that. And we, as you know, had some initial discussions and professional development about AI, so that was good. So I highlighted those two. I will just say in the full report, which will be posted, I really tried to emphasize a lot of things that we've been doing around professional development. And this is where I worry sometimes that we fall short in not sort of promoting enough the work that we're doing. So hopefully people will take a look at that. But a lot of great work, including the district was part of the Mass Association of School Superintendents Ready initiative this year in that foundational series. And also there's a section where we just said, like, what are a bunch of, what student programming have we done related to these different priorities this year, and tried to sort of pull out some of those things. And it's really exciting when you reflect on it and see how it's come together. So it's been great. I would say there were some unexpected things. Collective bargaining certainly became a more protracted process than we had anticipated. I'm glad that we were able to get to a good settlement with the WTA. Some other towns are still struggling with that. So that was great. We managed to bargain with our instructional assistants this year very successfully. I want to thank Abby and Lisa Friedman. They have bargained with our ABA tutors this year from scratch. That's a new unit that we voluntarily recognized this year that you'll be ratifying, we hope, tonight. And also thank Lemma, who bargained with our food services department, and so that contract is up for ratification as well. And then, you know, the budget was more challenging than usual this year. So as we reflected in central office on what have we been doing with our time, the budget loomed large. But I really do think that we have managed, I say we, Lemma has managed to successfully, we think, navigate FY23. He's going to bring that into the finish. And the FY24 budget, I think, does a good job addressing the unanticipated things that we're navigating this year. And I think we have a clear sense of what the district needs to keep its eye on going into FY25. So I will just end by thanking, I see the people in the room, but the central office team and the administrative council, remarkable people. And I give the report on district goals as if I've been doing it, but really it's all of these folks working together in collaboration to make it happen, and of course our teachers and our students and our community partners. So, thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you.
I think the CAPS is actually really exciting. Just fresh, the term is the term a quarter? Instead.
That's a quarter,
Like a
so
quarter in
yeah.
high school, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what it is.
I think the CAPS will be very exciting.
Yeah.
Great. Next section is the superintendent's evaluation. So usually at this point, we go through kind of a process where the chair goes through, what the outgoing chair goes through the rubric, the complicated rubric of the evaluation. Given this is Emily's last meeting after 28 years and 6 years as superintendent, I'm going to submit that for the record, but I'm not going to go through all the evaluation. But I would love to hear from the committee any thoughts about our superintendent.
Where to start?
Right.
I'll start. I've only known Emily as a superintendent since I've been on the school committee. I've never worked with another one, and I can't imagine. I mean, I know Tim will be great, but it's, you know, it's, for me personally, I think this is going to be a very difficult loss. I think that, you know, you and I work very well together. I think we think very similarly. We react to things similarly. We have the same instincts, and I've really, really felt a sense of partnership working with you. It's never, it is so rare, I think, that, not that we disagree, because I think we challenge each other, but that we can't come to a resolution that we both really rally around. And I've just really, really enjoyed working with you. I have a lot more to say that, you know, I will say at a later time, but it's just, it's starting to hit me and it's not feeling good. So I guess thank you for everything. This district would not be where it is today, which is a remarkable position without you. I think that you have exceeded all expectations from day one. And I am just very, very appreciative for you and for all you've done for us. So thank you.
I will keep it short, but oh, go ahead.
No, I can't even respond because I'll lose the chair, so, okay.
I think Maya summed up a lot of what I was feeling, but I just think that your commitment to the students and your team and this community just stands out like far and above anybody I've worked with. And I just so admire your ethic and your leadership style, and I've learned so much from you. It was really interesting, like going through the recent school committee campaign. When I would go into speaking engagements, I would think to myself, like, I'm going to channel my inner Emily Parks. And, it would give me, like, confidence, and I had, like, talking points that just from listening to you. So thank you for everything, everything you've done.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So I will say, this is my first year working with you, right? So we're on the opposite end, right? I'm getting to know Emily's style. She's getting to know my style. But I've appreciated the openness with which you have approached sort of, guiding me through this first year. When you called to tell me that you were taking another job, I definitely was, sort of like, oh no. But I'm going to repeat what I said then, which is, as a school committee member, I'm sad. I'm very sad for Westwood. As a mom, I am really happy for you. And
I'm starting to cry.
If you put into your family what you put into this district, Emily, you can't go wrong.
I don't have a long tenure with you. Not at least on committee, but what I have, I can speak as a community member, and I've always found you to be responsive and respectful. You've taken time to meet with me one-on-one. You've answered phone calls and emails from me, and that kind of dedication to me as a lowly just committee or community member at the time was very appreciative, and I was delighted to be able to serve with you for just this short amount of time, and I wish you the very best.
Well, I'm the school committee historian at this point, so no, I echo that. But given that, I will. I do, being a historian. When I reflect on everything, I reflect everything that's been said today. But I also reflect the last time I was chair on the phone call on March 11th, I believe, 2020. When it's
The 12th, Tony. It was
the 12th. Okay, I couldn't remember the 11th or 12th. Okay, the 12th. It was about 11 o'clock. I was sitting there, and it was a very short conversation. Actually, I think it was probably about 3 minutes, where Emily kind of calmly, thoughtfully, decisively, and thinking about kids, which I think all attributes of her said, I think we should close the schools. And it was by far the saddest day, at least my 7 years in the school committee, because I knew the schools wouldn't be reopening. But I cite that day because I think in the crisis of closing schools, which in some ways we know was actually easier than opening the schools, that was where I actually think your leadership, all these things, your passion, caring, your calmness, your decisiveness really showed up. I mean, it's always showed up, but I think during the crisis, I think your leadership was tremendous and amazing, and really set up us up for the recovery from that crazy time. So thank you so much for everything.
Wow. I'm not going to be able to put together sentences, so I'm just going to say that, shoot, I didn't want to do this. You guys. All right. Yeah, it's a very, very bittersweet decision to be leaving this district because I love it so much, and I feel such a tremendous affection for the people here and for the community. And, I got a phone call in 1993 when I was 23 years old telling me that I had been placed in Westwood to student teach. And it was Tom Brown. Some of you may have had Mr. Brown as the social studies department head, and I actually, can picture where I was standing in like my childhood bedroom, home from college, right? And this guy, Tom Brown, called me. You know Tom, he bleeds green. And he said to me, we're gonna give you a great experience in Westwood. So off I went. Somebody had to explain to me how to get here because I didn't know where it was. And certainly I could never have imagined any of it, really. But there have been lots of opportunities to make other choices. And I have thought about every one of those and always decided to stay because it's such a great place. So I'm deeply appreciative of all the nice things that you said and all of the opportunities that I've been given. And I don't know why I'm boo-hooing like this, but I just want to say I'm going to get it together here, I think, in the next couple days. But I am so confident that you're in such extraordinary hands with the people who are here. And I thank the school committee for all of your support. You know, there have been some low moments in the last couple of years, and I really always felt like everybody here was trying to do the right thing and was supportive, and yeah, we couldn't have done it without the kind of leadership we have from the school committee, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have some things.
Okay.
So, we have a lovely
athletic bag.
Oh,
the W
but
branded.
wait, there's more. So let's open the bag.
It's like the girl out of Westwood, but you can know.
Swag, I love it.
And then we have a beautiful scarf.
I didn't know we had this stuff.
I have to admit, we did have a personal shopper who assisted, who may be in this room, also wearing green. And then we have a wonderful cozy sweatshirt, and I think you need to put it all on for us to take a picture.
I can do the scarf at least, right?
But we did, I don't know, if we do a picture after the meeting, maybe?
Yeah,
Or now?
Yeah, we can do
right
that.
after.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Wow, that's good
Well,
stuff.
now I
Good
can
stuff.
never, I will tell you, my kids, for all that I think this will be good for them, they're very skeptical. This change is very skeptical. They've made that very clear when I told them. They were like, that doesn't sound like a good idea. And, one of the things is that they just feel like they will miss visiting Westwood. And I told them, we can still go to the games, you know? So this will be great. I can wear my Westwood gear. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Good, so why don't we move on? We have a number of action items that we can hopefully get relatively quickly through. The first action item is the vote to approve policy section K.
I move to, I'm just gonna make a motion, right?
Yeah.
I move to approve policy section K.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, great. The next one is a vote to establish Pine Hill Elementary District. And I think, do we have to read this motion?
Well, yeah, it's kind of intricate. This is my suggested
Okay.
motion
Did somebody want
that we discussed last.
to, you want to read
Want me
it?
to read it?
Yeah.
Upon the opening of the Pine Hill School, students in the current Deerfield district, students in the current Hanlon district, and students who reside on University Ave will be assigned to the Pine Hill district. Further, beginning in 2023 to 2024, elementary students who reside on University Ave and are newly enrolling in the Westwood Public Schools will be assigned either to Deerfield Pine Hill or Hanlon Pine Hill in anticipation of the spring consolidation and opening of Pine Hill. Any student who resides on University Ave and currently attends the Downey may also, if the family chooses, be reassigned in fall 2023 to Deerfield Pine Hill in anticipation of the spring consolidation and opening of Pine Hill. Students who reside on University Ave and currently attend the Downey School and who do not request fall 2023 reassignment to the Deerfield Pine Hill will continue to be enrolled and transported to Downey for 2023 to 2024. Beginning in 2024 to 2025, those students will be reassigned to the Pine Hill District or will be granted an intra-district transfer so that they may remain at Downey, with the understanding that under the intra-district transfer policy, families are responsible for transporting their students to and from school.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Great, thank you. All right, the next is the vote to consolidate Deerfield and Hanlon's school budgets and rename cost center. I think there's also a suggested motion
Yes.
from Lemma on this one. So it's a little shorter.
Thank
so.
you. Transfer the salary and non-salary budgets at Deerfield, cost center 411, to Hanlon, cost center 413, and rename the cost center, changing the name from Hanlon to Pine Hill in future budget documents. Further, transfer any pertinent salary or non-salary budget lines in other cost centers that correspond to the Deerfield school to the budget lines that correspond to the Hanlon school in order to establish one Pine Hill budget.
Do I have a second? Any questions or discussion? All those in favor? Aye. The next is the vote to approve the school capital subcommittee, which I think I mentioned will be May and Dore. Do I have a motion to approve the school capital subcommittee?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye, unanimous. All right, next is vote to approve the March 9th, 2023 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Do I have a motion to vote to approve the May 10th, 2023 meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, the next is the vote to approve the track field
Yes,
trip.
well, so as you heard earlier, they're doing very well. And so there are two trips. One is to the New England Interscholastic Outdoor Track and Field Championship on Saturday, June 10th. It's in Bangor, Maine. And then second is to New Balance Nationals, June 15th to the 18th, and that is in Philadelphia. Ooh.
Exciting. Do I have a motion to vote to approve the track field trip?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Next is the school committee meeting dates. Just note, I did tweak one of the dates. We'll have to confirm that with Harley. I did tweak the date before April, the April break to make most of them are on a Thursday. Made that one a Wednesday. I don't like to have Thursdays before breaks. Personally, we are going to also just move them to 6:30 as opposed to 7. Generally on Thursdays. I think that will be accommodating, particularly people that have come attend these meetings from outside of Westwood. But other than that, and I think. And we also will have a July meeting, as you mentioned. So do I have a motion to approve the school committee dates? Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Vote to accept the donation to Performing Arts.
Yes, so I had a really nice phone call and letter subsequently from a person who prefers to remain anonymous, but she has provided a $5,000 donation to the Thurston Performing Arts program, and she shared with me that she had attended the Thurston's performance of The Little Mermaid, and she was just like so impressed with the high quality middle school performance, and really just very impressed with the talents of our students and our staff. And so she wants to support the arts at the middle school by earmarking her donation to pay for the pit orchestra for the Thurston Middle School. So it's
Very
a
nice.
really generous gift.
Great. Do I have a motion to accept the donation to Thurston Middle School Performing Arts? Second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Vote is unanimous.
Thank you.
Next is a vote to ratify the tentative agreement with the Westwood Cafeteria Employees.
Yes, I don't know if there's anything specific to say about it. I mean, it sort of speaks for itself, but
Yeah.
yeah.
The highlights from this agreement were primarily a restructuring of the scale. It has been difficult to hire in cafeteria as well as everywhere else. So that's in the first year. The other highlights are an integration of new language for evaluations and some clarification on language related to sick time.
Thank you for bringing that home. Do I have a motion to ratify the tentative agreement with the Westwood Cafeteria Employees?
So moved.
Second? Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Unanimous. And finally, the ratification of the ABA Tutor Collective Bargaining Agreement. Any other thoughts?
Yes, that was from scratch. So everything is brand new, but I think that it does represent a restructuring of the salary scale that I think will be important and significant, again, in order for us to recruit and retain employees who are really valued in the district. So I thank Abby and Lisa for their work on that, and also for members of the ABA tutor unit.
Okay, good. Do I have a motion to ratify the ABA tutor collective bargaining agreement?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Votes unanimous. Finally, any other new business? Anything? All right, great. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.